While the world is focused on Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the U.S. government is also moving ahead with the historic nomination of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the U.S. Supreme Court. Senate hearings on her nomination are scheduled to start in 2 weeks, and Jackson is now making the customary rounds on Capitol Hill to meet key senators from both parties. Jackson is the first black woman, ever nominated to the High Court, and her qualifications include serving as a federal appellate court judge, a U.S. district court judge, and a federal public defender. But there's also one qualification we really haven't heard a lot about. Jackson is a working mom. One of her daughters, along with her husband, attended her nomination ceremony last month, and Jackson called attention to her double duties that day.
To my daughters, Talia and Layla, you are the light of my life. Please know that whatever title I may hold or whatever job I may have, I will still be your mom. That will never change.
When Justice Amy Coney Barrett was nominated in 2020, some Republican senators repeatedly called attention to her being a mother of 7 kids. If Jackson is confirmed, she and Barrett will be the only mothers on the entire court. Democrats have said basically nothing about Jackson's also being a working mom, as New York University law professor Melissa Murray points out in a New York Times op-ed. And Melissa Murray joins us now. I mean, you note in your op-ed that one possible reason that Democrats haven't talked up Judge Jackson being a working mom is that black women have been working moms like for the last 100 years. I mean, 200 years, if we're being more accurate, going back to when they were domestic workers taking care of other people's kids and also had to take care of their own. So lay out for us how black working moms is basically just a fixed notion in the public's mind, and we never bring it up. I mean, Michelle Obama got so much flack for talking about being a mom in chief. So there's a lot packed into this idea of black motherhood. Break it down for us.
Yeah, I think it's a really important point to underscore. You know, we saw with the confirmation of Justice Barrett that her maternity, the fact that she was a mother of 7 children, was really celebrated, and not just celebrated. It was actually used as a shield to insulate her from charges that her judicial philosophy was out of step with the norm, that she might dismantle key portions of the domestic agenda, like the Affordable Care Act, and that she was perhaps not suited because of the hastiness of her confirmation hearings. We are hearing nothing about Judge Jackson's motherhood, and it's been a big part of her story as a working woman and a lawyer in the legal profession. And again, maybe it's because black women are so commonplace as working mothers. According to the Department of Labor, black women are the majority of working mothers. I think it's something like 70% of black women who are mothers are also working mothers. It far exceeds that of other ethnic groups. So that may be part of it. It may also be that the Democrats are not as likely as the Republicans to tout a contender's family status as evidence of professional acumen or aptitude. But it seems like a pretty relevant story at a time when we are debating whether childcare is part of the infrastructure of our economy. I think it would be really useful and productive for the American people to hear how someone like Ketanji Brown Jackson reached the pinnacle of her career while also mothering 2 children.
Why don't Democrats want to lean into that narrative? I mean, Republicans, they took it and ran away with it, and they really did, you're right, use it as a shield of basically any criticism of her political stances on abortion. They used her being a mom to shield her from those criticisms. Why shouldn't Democrats just lean into this idea that Judge Jackson is also a working mom and brings her perspective to the role of Supreme Court justice?
Well, I think historically emphasizing a woman's motherhood, her family status, has been somewhat maybe demoralizing, deprecating, and you really want the attention to be on her qualifications, as it should be. And her qualifications here are absolutely sterling, but I think that makes the working mother narrative even more compelling. She herself has talked frankly about how difficult it was to make it through the legal profession at a time when she had young children, and how difficult it was to find work that was not only meaningful, but actually compatible with her family's circumstances. So I understand why it may feel a little retrograde to emphasize this, but these are the kinds of relatable problems that all working women are having if they are trying to combine work and family matters right now. And not just women, men are doing this too right now. It would be really useful, I think, to think about how someone like Judge Jackson reached the pinnacle of her career while also managing this juggle. And she notes there were some detours. Her ascent to the Supreme Court was not always assured. She made it. And that, too, I think, speaks to qualities that make her suitable for the bench, her grit, her resilience, her fortitude. But we should have that conversation.
Justice Amy Coney Barrett right now is the only mom on the Supreme Court, and her deeply conservative beliefs about reproductive health and freedom puts her in a specific place in terms of the conversation ongoing right as the court is deciding the Mississippi case. I mean, speak to how Judge Jackson's perspective, coming from the perceivably the left on this issue, and the fact that she's also a mother, can help shape the conversation in the future when cases come before the court.
We definitely saw this on display in December in the oral arguments in that abortion case where Justice Barrett asked about infant safe haven laws, which allow a parent to leave a newborn at a fire station or a police station and surrender the child for adoption. And Justice Barrett seemed to be suggesting that if you could disaggregate the burdens of pregnancy and the burdens of parenthood, maybe there isn't a need for a right to abortion because women aren't forced into motherhood that would perhaps delay or deter them from education or employment. I think Justice Jackson could bring a different perspective to that. Not only is she a Black woman, she could talk about the experiences that many Black women have during pregnancy, the heightened maternal mortality rates that they face during pregnancy, the difficulties of finding childcare as a working mother. All of that, I think, would speak to some of these questions that we're having where right now, only Justice Barrett's voice as a working mother is being heard on that court.
So Justice Barrett is not the first working mother on the court. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Sandra Day O'Connor, also working moms. Was their experience as working moms reflected at all in any of their decisions or dissents or arguments on the court?
Well, by the time both of them came to the court, and this really spoke to when they became lawyers and the difficulties women face in the legal profession at the time they were leaving law school, their children were well out of the house by the time they came to the court. Their children were grown and gone, so to speak. So Justice Barrett is the first mother of school-age children on the court. But I think we saw in a lot of different ways the way in which Justices O'Connor and Justice Ginsburg's experiences as women, as mothers, shape their time on the court. I think we saw it most profoundly in Justice Ginsburg's decision in United States versus Virginia. That was the case in which the court invalidated the Virginia Military Institute's adversative method, which only allowed men to matriculate at that state school. She talked about the idea that, yeah, there may not be a lot of women who would choose that, but if there was one woman who would choose that particular educational experience and she was suited for it, then she had to be given a chance. And I think she was thinking about all of the experiences that she had been locked out of as a working mother entering the legal profession back when she graduated from Columbia Law School.
It's such an important conversation, and I feel like, you know, we don't have it enough. The idea that we're sort of changing the model for not just Supreme Court, but also Congress, because, you know, there is sort of the Speaker Pelosi model of running for office where you do all the things, you have your kids, you raise them, you may even have grandchildren by the time you decide to run for office, or this model where you're a little bit younger, you may have smaller children. It's a fascinating conversation as we try to be progressive on these things. Melissa Murray, Professor, thank you so much for being here. You're always fun to talk to you about just anything. So come talk about anything. Thank you again. Please stay safe.
Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.